Hello and welcome to Coffee with Dr. Carla. I'm Dr. Carla and this is Emily, and we're really glad that you're here with us. Today, our goal is to talk about some mental health related issues in hopes of ending the stigma surrounding them. And so, today we're going to talk about a tough topic. We're going to talk about sexual assault. Um, and I know that in working with clients, um, they're not real thrilled when I throw out the word rape.
Mm.
Um, Sexual assault seems to hit softer than rape. And, that might be for another whole show, whatever. You want to talk to me about that, give me a ring. But for today, though, I know that um, unfortunately, this is part of your lived experience. Um, and I had the privilege to work with you to help you overcome some of that. So, um, you know, I'm going to just let you kind of share what you want to share, and then we'll kind of unfold how things went as we go along.
Yeah, okay. So, I actually first got sexually assaulted when I was a freshman in high school. He was my boyfriend at the time, and it was just very I was very innocent and naive, and I didn't know what was going on until after it happened, and I kind of just ignored it.
So, okay, so you ignored it, but I guess I wonder, did you, in the ignoring it, did you ignore it because you knew it was sexual assault, or did you think, well, he's my boyfriend, so it can't be that?
A little bit of both.
Okay.
I guess I didn't realize what was happening until after it happened, and in in the instance, I actually was like, "Oh, you know what? My dad called. He wants me home." Right? And then it as so my dad I actually texted him and I was like, "Hey, can you come pick me up right now?" I was like, "Oh, my dad's on my way." And he continued to do it until after like my dad had come. Which I thought was, I didn't really realize. And then when I sat with my dad in the car, I was like, "Did that just happen? Did that just happen?" Um,
Did you tell anyone then?
no. I didn't tell anyone until my freshman year of college, actually, until I met one of my best friends. And to this day, she's my roommate, Allie G, which you
I
know.
know Allie G. Yep.
You
It's
know
not
Allie
just
G.
Allie, it's Allie
It's
G.
Allie G.
Yeah. Yes.
And she has really just been the most wonderful person. She really helped me actually get help in therapy in the first place. So
Okay.
shout out to Allie G.
Yay.
She's the
Yeah.
best. Um, so that happened, and I kind of, again, like I really didn't deal with it. I didn't go into it. I was like, oh, it happened. Okay. Went saw a counselor. I was like, yeah, I'm fine now. You know,
It's all good. Yeah.
it's fine. That's Katrina always gets me on that too. She's like, you can't use that anymore. It's
Yeah.
not fine. I'm like, okay. And then last year, I actually got into a more serious relationship again, and I got sexually assaulted almost every weekend last summer. And it was at my parents' home in my room. So that was, yeah.
Okay. So explain where did you know you were being sexually assaulted every weekend? How did that realization come?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So I didn't really realize it until the big event happened.
Right.
So how it was like he would always start, right? And I'm like, no thanks, I'm not really in the mood. I'd rather just like lay here, sit here, do whatever. And he would just continue. He wouldn't respect my boundaries. Like I would move his hand sometimes. I would try to get him to stop. Nothing. Like it was just like, and then after the fact, he'd be like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And I'm like, it's okay, I guess.
Because you're my boyfriend.
Right,
Right? Yeah. Okay.
exactly. So that was,
And it's not okay. It's not
it's
okay.
not okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
And that's something that I've learned for myself, thanks to Carla. Um, but so the last event happened actually the weekend of my birthday. There was like a big thing that happened where he ended up having to stay a couple extra days. His car was broke down, so we're like, okay, that's fine. And then the big event happened, the sexual assaults, right? I had like an out of body experience. I've like just, and by the time I was like, get off me, get off me, and he left for the night, like went into his room, whatever, the guest room. Next morning, he came up to me and he was like, did I sexually assault you last night?
Oh, so he even recognized he went too far.
Yeah. And I was like, I don't know. I don't know. And then I ended up texting my support, ℂ𝐸𝐿𝐼,
Yeah.
my best friend Johnny, and my best friend Jocelyn, and they were so amazing. So Johnny, closest one that lives by me, she picked me up so I didn't have to be in the same house. And then ℂ𝐸𝐿𝐼 and her boyfriend came down from actually down here. We live about an hour.
Right.
And ℂ𝐸𝐿𝐼's boyfriend took him all the way home to Cicero.
Nice.
Yeah. And was like, basically figure it out. Like, you need to find your own, like, to get your car back, everything. Like, and I just cut off communication. Um, yeah. Yeah. So that was, after that, I dove into work. So I was working in the mental health field, like we talked about last time.
Right.
And I was working 16 plus hour days. I did anything not to be at home. So I would just like, oh, you're short staffed? That's fine. I'll just stay till like 10 o'clock and then I'll sleep at my friend's Jocelyn's and then come back to work and do it all over again.
Right.
Um, and then my ℂ𝐸𝐿𝐼, coming in clutch, told me to find a therapist. I found Katrina and she gave me your information, and that's where we started EMDR.
Right. And so, just so you, for anybody who doesn't know, EMDR is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. It uses bilateral tapping or stimulation. We were able to do all sorts of fun
Mm-hmm.
bilateral stuff. We even did like a pancake thing at one point. We did
Yes.
some stamping and whatnot. But as long as it's bilateral, and through that we were able to, you know. Um, take the sting, take the power away from what had happened, and recreate a place where you felt safe.
Yeah.
Um,
100%. And that, I mean, it went from, so I actually moved out of my family house in about, I think, August.
okay,
And the assault happened in end of May, early June. So I hadn't been home, like, and I couldn't go home. Um, and
yeah,
Carla, you actually helped me. I can actually go home and be in my room and like sleep in my bed. And it was like just a crazy flip, like not a flip around, because yes, it did take months, but it was literally like I could barely even be in there without wanting to have a panic attack to now being able to sleep in my actual like room.
yeah. I think we finished our work right before your next birthday.
Yes, that is true. I did sleep in my room on my birthday.
I do remember that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, and it's interesting because, um, the thing of, this is really a PTSD thing. This is a post traumatic, stress issue, and so, sadly, entering into your parents' home, immediately felt like it was all happening again, right? And
Yes.
so, and that's so hard to. So your mind's saying, I know he is not here, but my body's saying, holy crap, I'm going to have to experience this all over again because I'm sure he's hiding somewhere,
Yes.
right?
Literally.
My mind cannot be right. My body's telling me that he's here, and he was not there. And we did a lot of work to get him out of those nooks and crannies, and made sure that he could not continue to torment you from the past, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. And definitely the patty cake one is the biggest one that has always been in my mind because again, we did it with Ali G, and it was amazing. Like it really was a solid. Like we just sat there and said like what we like think about each other
Right.
and how much we love each other, and Ali like basically almost told my ex like what I would want to say, but she said it for me.
Right.
And that was so empowering because it was like he or
And
she was,
validating too,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah, because like again, you have this whole stigma of like he was my boyfriend, right? Like, and that's a big reason
Mm-hmm.
why I didn't report, or and that's another thing. Reporting is a whole nother,
Yeah.
like most people that are sexually assaulted don't report. And
Right.
I mean, like I was told by people not to. Like it would have been more
Traumatic.
pain and
Yeah.
shame
Yeah.
for me to report.
Yeah, and shaming a victim is not the way we want this world to work, but unfortunately, that is a very true part of how this happens. Just to kind of let people know, when we're talking about this patty cake thing, you know, um, the way Emily's bedroom is set up is it's almost like it's got two halves and there's kind of like an arch in the middle, right? And so the one half where the bed was, we at that point we couldn't even look at the bed, let alone anything else. But the other side, like where it was kind of like a little living room setup, we had gotten to the point where we could come in and sit down in one of the chairs, which, I mean, looking from the outside, you're thinking, okay, what's the big deal? The big deal was like she was about to pass out. She was so scared and panicky about it. And we were able to get her grounded such. But, the thing of it is, all these negative voices that come from society, come from people come from him, that
Yeah,
your assaulter said, it's not, you don't deserve to get better,
right.
right? And so that's when I'm like, okay, let's stop traditional and let's try something crazy. And that's when we called Ali G to come on up and play patty cake with us. And while it seemed out of the ordinary, it really was a good thing. And even though it was a good thing, there's still a part of you that said, well, wait, did I do the work or did Allie do the work, right?
Hmm.
But at the end of the, finally, full processing, it got better.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And even a little funny part, I know my younger brother actually walked past us while we were doing patty cake, and he was like, and I'm like, hey, all right, it's treatment,
Yeah,
okay? And it really
yeah,
is. Like
yeah.
it really helped, like, and having that support. And like I said, Ali G is she is the person I go to, like that really helped me again validate my experience because it is sometimes invalidating.
Yeah, and I know we spent a lot of time in the office working on it, and we really thought we had a good handle on it. And then you're like, okay, I tried to go home, and yeah, that didn't work. And that's
Yeah.
and that's when I said, all right, can I come to your house?
Yes. No, and that was
Can I come
amazing.
over?
No, it was awesome. Like everyone who talked to me about it was like, "Really? That's amazing that your therapist did that." I'm like, "Yes, like Carla is awesome." Like,
But there was no other way to do it because,
no.
like, sitting here in our offices, we can imagine it to a certain extent. But like when we sat, even when we sat upstairs in the hallway, we didn't even go in your room. You're like, oh my God, that space! Like, and we couldn't have
Yeah,
gotten that kind of visceral reaction if we stayed here. And I wouldn't have known exactly what we needed to do if we had
exactly.
stayed here. So, I guess in this, there's so much more we could say about this, but if there's one thing that you would want our audience to know about your experience, like, if they're in this position, what's that one thing you want them to walk away with knowing?
You are valid. Um, Anything that you think is iffy about sexual assault, like, oh, well, I said yes first, or he's my boyfriend, or anything like that, your experience is valid and you are valid.
Cool. And then I have to add one, if you're seeing a therapist and the modality that they're using isn't, getting you where you need to go. It doesn't mean your therapist is bad. Be willing to try different modalities. And even though knew EMDR could help Emily, I had to stop and say, okay, EMDR in the office is not going to get us where we need to go. I need to go off the ranch a little bit, literally, and go visit. And we had a handful of visits. It really wasn't.
Yeah,
It wasn't a lot,
it
but it was.
wasn't.
It was just a handful of visits. And so, so just don't be afraid to ask for what you need or question whether or not this is the best modality for you. So yeah. Thank you, because this is a tough subject and a lot of people are afraid to talk about it, so I appreciate the fact that you did. So remember, you could change your thoughts, discover your potential, and transform your life by focusing on your overall well being. Until next time, continue working on being the best you possible. Bye.